police persons are the only people in the system who have a right or license to enter the kitchen as well as the bedroom. When I come back to the police station, he says, okay, have you packed your 2-3 clothes? I said, किस लिए sir? बोले कि आप 10 दिन पैदल जाएंगे, सारा गांव जो इलाके का है उसको पैदल घूमेंगे and उसके 10 दिन के बाद आप लौटेंगे तब थानेदारी करेंगे. Always we should not see things from criminal justice system lens. Many things we need to see from a social justice system lens. आपको होता है कि क्या लेते हैं देख के क्या लेते हैं क्या नहीं लेते. मगर सिस्टम आपको इतना देता है कि अगर आप you want to be a change agent, then you have that much of space to be a change agent. What happens is in human trafficking, there are normally 3 stages. One is the recruitment, the second is transit, the movement, and third is at the destination place when the person is received and maintained for exploitation. Power basically is nothing, but power is what the situation will give you where you can influence people.
I am your host Gaurav Garg and we welcome all our viewers to our show Amazing Mentor. Today with us is Dr. Veerendra Mishra. He is a 1995 batch State Police Service Officer and was elevated to IPS in 2011. He was Secretary, Central Adoption Resource Authority, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India. Earlier he was Assistant Inspector General CID with Madhya Pradesh Police. He was awarded the prestigious Hubert Humphrey Fellowship on the subject of human trafficking during 2012-2013. He was extensively studies the working of police, both local and international bodies such as United Nations Police. He served in 3 UN missions in Bosnia, Herzegovina, Kosovo and East Timor. He stayed in East Timor for 5 months and was instrumental in preparing training modules for community policing training to community members of the country. As a pro-bono consultant of the Asia Foundation, Dr. Mishra did his PhD on changing image of police and empirical study from Barkatullah University, Bhopal in 2004. He has authored a book titled Community Policing, Misnomer or Fact and edited another book, Human Trafficking, The Stakeholder's Perspective. He also writes fiction. He has written a short story book and contributed a story in the Chicken Soup Soul series. He recently co-produced and co-directed a documentary film titled Do I Have a Choice, which is on the community-based sexual exploitation of media community. Apart from the above accomplishment, he has also founded an organization called Samvedna to educate kids of slum area through computer training. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Veerendra Mishra to our show, Amazing Mentor. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Gaurav.
Tell us about your childhood and any particular childhood memory that you would like to share on our show.
It's a wonderful start to go back to your childhood. So childhood has been it was wonderful childhood that I had. Even I had opportunity to travel a lot. So that is why perhaps which has shaped my personality, if at all it is something positive. Because technically I was born in Bhagalpur, Bihar. At that time my parents used to stay in Mysore, Nanjangud, that is in South India. So my earlier studies were there in Mysore. I think I studied till 4th there. So I was well versed with Kannada. And then moved to Ghaziabad, studied up till 8th there. And that was a paradigm shift because, I was hardly speaking Hindi when I was there in Mysore in South India, Karnataka. And here straight away you land in thick of Hindi belt. So that was amazing experience. The transition was very, very, very interesting. Even culturally as well as linguistically. And then we moved to Punjab, again a total different state. And we moved there and I got enrolled from class 8th and did my graduation there. So, I had so much of experience of friends from across the country, be it east, be it south, be it north, be it, extreme north. So that is what my childhood has been. So that has been wonderful journey. And that has perhaps given, it makes so easy for us to relate with people from different parts of the country. When I meet them, so I tell them, okay, if you're from South, so I have been a South Indian. So if you say that you're from Delhi, so I said, okay, I was in Ghaziabad, you're in NCR area for 4-5 years. And again, now I'm in Delhi and served in Delhi for 7 years on deputation. And even like Punjabi, I speak a bit, so I can say that Punjabi. Of course, in my blood, the Bihari blood, that is there. I consider myself to be a true Indian in that sense. So that was the amazing journey that I had.
So which state did you love the most in your early childhood?
I think every state I enjoyed. Still, I have friends from across, all the places. I love every state that I have been, and the flavor, the aroma of that place. Like in the morning, I just had like parathas for breakfast, and in the afternoon, the plan is to have idli dosa. So you can understand, like even the cuisine is so deep into me. The childhood, that flavor is there inside me. If you ask me that which state is better, I would say that it's impossible to tell which state is better. Each state has its own strength, and they are wonderful.
So what about your educational background in schooling and higher education?
Education has been little I had ups and downs. Ups and downs means up till graduation, final year, things were moving very smoothly. That I was doing in Amritsar when I was doing my college from DAV College. And that is the time in the final year of graduation, I lost my father at a very young age. I was 18 years old. So then after we had to move to Bihar. And unfortunately in Bihar, they were the sessions were running late. So there was a gap of 2 years. So the year we had passed our graduation, they said that year of graduate students are going to pass after 2 years. So where do we place you? We can't take admission in the masters. I don't know what the technical glitch was. I couldn't understand. Even I am unable to figure out what that was. So we did not get admission in masters, and we had lost our father. So there was nothing. We were helpless at that time. So there was a block. But interestingly, or I would say thankfully, my brother got through IPS in 1990. He is a 90 batch IPS officer right now, posted in Chhattisgarh as DG, not DGP, DG Forensics. So when he got through IPS, so then I resumed my studies. I got enrolled into MBA because he was posted in Bhopal. So we came to Bhopal, and from Bhopal we started, I started my journey of education again. But by that time I got into services, police services. So I had to again cut short that MBA. I couldn't finish it. But perhaps that craving or the desire to study continued in me. And I did my master's in sociology after getting into the service. Then I did PhD from Barkatullah University. The subject of PhD was inspired more or less from my journey in the police, the beginning journey in the police. When I used to meet students, my wife is my batchmate. So when we used to go to schools and colleges to interact with students, we used to find that they used to carry a very negative image of police for no reason. When I say no reason, it is because during the interaction, when I used to ask them, okay, tell me from where have you got this perception about police? It is very interesting that they used to say that it used to come from the secondary and tertiary sources. There wasn't any primary source. Primary source means having themselves interacted with the police and having got a negative interaction. So that inspired me, and then I would say that provoked me to do a study and see what is the cause of image of police. And the outcome of the study has been that it is the tertiary and the secondary sources. Secondary sources means somebody who has interacted and is giving a picture of what is or her interaction with police was. And the tertiary is neither of them have seen that, but they are speaking on the basis of what they must have heard from somewhere else. The film is entertainment businesses. I would say a medium from where the police image is being built. Unfortunately, more or less, either as a funny or could be a very negative thing. So that is the unfortunate part. That is what's happening. And the second is the parents always thinking that police is an object or police is one system and organization. You can just scare your children by saying that police wala aa jayega. If you see in the stations also, or if you see in the train, they would say that police wala aa jayega, tum chupchap baith jao. Or they would show the finger towards a policeman, a cop in a uniform, and say that, okay, chup ho jao, nahi to gadbad ho jayega. These have been the reason of that perception that the common man is carrying. There might be many of negative things happening, certainly, I don't deny that. But at the same time, there are good things which is happening, which is not being highlighted. And I think Corona was one place, one situation where everybody started appreciating police for the risk they were taking. But actually, in real world, in real time, police keeps on taking that risk day in, day out. But we just overlook that.
See, it's like जो front face में होता है गालियाँ उसी पड़ती है. So police is always at the front face of each and every organization where government is concerned.
बिल्कुल. वो होता क्या है कि यूनिफॉर्म सर्विसेज जिसे बोलते हैं तो हमारी विजिबिलिटी हो जाती है.
Yes.
One can identify a police, a cop, be it a constable or be it a senior officer, just because they are wearing a uniform. So that is a unique situation, unique a person there. But others, all other departments, even if he is an IAS officer, a person, unless and until introduces himself, nobody would recognize that, okay, he is that person. So if it goes to the advantage of the police, at the same time it goes to the disadvantage of the police. Because anything happening in the system, the flaw of any government organization or government executive hand, the onus lies on police. पानी नहीं आएगा, पुलिस की गलती. कुछ भी रोड खराब है तो पुलिस की गलती. चक्का जाम होगा, मारपीट होगी, पुलिस के साथ होगी. चाहे कुछ भी हो जाए, बट फ्रंट पे पुलिस को ही they have to bear the brunt of all the lapses of the government agencies. तो अच्छा है, एक तरीके से अच्छा है कि हमें we should feel proud about it that the system considers us to be so responsible and unwantingly, or I don't know, for whatever reason, but we become accountable to the others' flaws as well.
So as a child, what was your dream profession कि मैं बड़ा होके ये बनना चाहूँगा?
बचपन में बहुत ज़्यादा तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. अभी जब बिल्कुल छोटे हुआ करते तो क्रिकेटर बनने का मन था, क्योंकि साउथ इंडिया में रहते थे तो हमने अगर बागान में पपीते के पेड़ लगाए थे तो मेरे ख्याल से एवरी पपीता पेड़ हैड अ नेम ऑफ द प्लेयर. इट वुड बी विश्वनाथ, गवास्कर, वेंगसरकर और ऑल दिस चंद्रशेखर. ये पूरा लाइन से जो व्हेन वी वर किड्स, स्मॉल वंस, and that is the craze that we used to have, and I used to dream myself to be a cricket player as I grew during something like 10, 12. So defense services used to attract me a lot. But when we got into this graduation, so already my brother had passed out from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and he had shifted to Delhi and was preparing for UPSC civils. So when he was preparing for UPSC civils, then he said you should prepare either for forest services examination and civil services examination. So right from the beginning of a graduation time, we started preparing for that. So already we were in the mode of appearing for civil services examinations. But unfortunately, because we lost our father, so we had to go back to Bihar. And in fact, actually, if you ask me technically, then that was my first year in Bihar, continuous year. Otherwise, we used to go only on vacations 3 or 4 years once. So that is the connect we had with Bihar. So then by that time, it was into our head that we need to get into civil services.
So what about your college life? Any notorious movement which you would like to share?
College life has been very interesting, if you ask me. We were a gang of 5, and including my brother, my middle brother, who is in Intelligence Bureau right now. Fortunately or unfortunately, we 4 of us are in somehow in police services. Like my elder brother is IPS, I am there now IPS. My wife is my batchmate IPS. And my middle brother is in Intelligence Bureau. So that is how we have landed up in services. So we were a gang of 5 in fact. So me, my brother, and 2 of them right now are in Canada, Toronto, and another friend who is in Hamirpur right now in Himachal. So we used to have a lot of fun, and a lot of fun in many ways. We used to play pranks, but at the same time, we had some very strong values and principles. So I would say that every day was a fun day for us. Evenings, getting together, going to Golden Temple and Durgyana Mandir. Though that used to be those days used to be peak of terrorism, but still we used to go there. Both places, every day we used to go. So that walk from DAV college to that place, coming back, and if possible, just going and eating in joints before coming to hostel was one thing which was amazing. And drinking that big glass lassi. So मतलब हर दिन अगर पूछे तो almost एक routine में ही इतना enjoyment था कि still I miss it.
So who was your inspirational figure in your early childhood?
I'm one person who doesn't stick to one personality and say that this is the person that I want to become. So I like good things in everyone, and I deny or don't like the bad things in everyone. It doesn't matter who the person is. Even if I have to talk about Mahatma Gandhi ji, and if I think that there are few things which perhaps I would like to not have that in him, so I would straight away say that, okay, this is part which shouldn't have been there. Or otherwise Mahatma is certainly Mahatma. So similarly, there are many things of many people that I would appreciate. So this is how I go. I mean, so it would be very difficult for me to tell you one person's name whom I would think has been an inspiration to.
So apart from the influence from your elder brother being an IPS, was there any other reason to join police force?
There's been a very interesting story which sometimes I share with very close ones. When I was appearing for examinations for civil services, I was in Bhopal, and my brother was posted there and my mother was there. So I was doing MBA. I joined MBA because I wanted to pursue my education there. And I appeared for an interview with Godrej. So just because I thought now I'm into 23, 24, I should get a job. Already doing MBA. I was hearing people saying that, okay, we do internship. Someone was saying we are earning a bit. So I thought of already we have taken 2 chances, and by that time I had appeared in UPSC interview as well. So लगा कि थोड़ा सा एक बार कोशिश किया जाए प्राइवेट में क्या होता है. I went for the interview in Godrej, and interestingly I was selected. So I was selected, and by that time my mother came to know about it. That कि मैं बगल में ही इंटरव्यू किसी का दिया है गोदरेज का. Perhaps driver went and told माँ that कि इनको इंटरव्यू में छोड़ के आया. मुझे पूछा होगा कहाँ पर हो. बोले कौन सा इंटरव्यू बताया होगा. तो she just came, and I was sitting with the manager there, and he was giving me the offer letter, saying that कि आप कब ज्वाइन कर पाएंगे, कैसे करेंगे, MBA से कैसे मैनेज करेंगे. He was just discussing everything with me, and my mother barged in. उन्होंने उनको खूब डांटा. बोला कि तुम हमारे बेटे को बर्बाद कर रहे हो. इसको सिविल सर्विसेज में जाना है, इसको जो है अधिकारी बनना है, और तुम लोग इसको अभी नौकरी देके इसकी जो मंशा है वो खत्म कर रहे हो. So, and she said all sort of these things, took the offer letter, tore it in front of her. I was profusely apologizing to that guy. And she was talking as if a mother talking to somebody else. Not that she was very derogatory with those guys, but she was saying that, rather than you appreciating and prompting him, or in fact, pepping him to take up the civil services, तुम उसको यहाँ से हटा रहे हो उसको. So, something was there, and I think I was destined to come here.
So while preparing for your examination, what all challenges did you face?
When my brother got into services, then we shifted from Bihar to Delhi, because he had prepared from Delhi. And we were staying here in Delhi in Pushpa Vihar, a subletted house. And we were doing fine. I mean, in the very first attempt we got through prelims, जबकि subjects हमारा total अलग था, मेरा बीच वाले brother के. And we took public administration, and that time public administration paper was very tough. Many of the Delhi university toppers had failed. They couldn't get through prelims. So that was going on very good. First year, we didn't get through. Second year, again, we appeared for the mains. And by that time, my brother finished his training and got posted in Bhopal. So we shifted from Delhi to Bhopal. And in those days, I'm talking about way back in 91, 92. In 92 in Bhopal, there was no culture of studying or preparing for UPSC in Bhopal. So we could hardly get any books. So it was that my brother became ADC to governor. And then when people from there used to travel to Delhi with the governor, then they used to bring the books for us. So we had to wait for the books to come to study. So that was the biggest challenge we started facing when we shifted from Delhi to Bhopal. In those days, I'm talking about things where there was only one book store where we used to get some books related to UPSC. So that is one challenge we faced. Second challenge was because my brother was into services, so day in, day out, people used to come, ring the bell, and he would be coming after Gasht late in the night. And in the beginning, you have small houses. That is a very paradoxical and ironical thing, that as you grow, you get big houses and there are no people staying at home. Only the couple would stay and you have big house. And when you need, when the whole family is there with you, but you are at the lower echelon of the hierarchy, so you get a very small house. So there, time in, out, anytime anybody would come. So that would distract and disturb us. So that was again a big challenge that we faced. And for that reason, we shifted I appeared for MBA test and joined hostel in university after getting through, so that I could get some space to study. So preparing for UPSC journey is always fun, but at the same time, it does give you some stress, and you are at tender hooks.
So जब रिजल्ट आया और आपने पुलिस फोर्स ज्वाइन कर लिया, तो कोई ऐसा स्टेटमेंट आया हो आपकी मदर की ओर से कि भाई अगर वो जॉब ज्वाइन कर ली होती तो आज कुर्सी पे नहीं होती, और क्या रिएक्शन था?
नहीं, कभी उनको याद ही नहीं है कि उन्होंने कभी मुझे गोदरेज से हटाया था. She was living every day. तो उनके लिए कोई ना रिग्रेट था वो, ना कभी वो था. वो मुझे याद है कि मेरे लिए कितना बड़ा एम्बैरेसमेंट था वो. बट जहां तक आप बात कर रहे हैं कि क्या था खुशी, तो खुशी तो बहुत हुई. I remember I was in hostel when I received a call, and in those days it was only phone call, no mobile, nothing. So 94 में, क्योंकि 95 तो हम लोगों ने academy join कर लिया था, and so जब आया हॉस्टल में, फोन आया, फोन आते के साथ ही जैसे लोगों को हॉस्टल में पता लगा कि भाई yes, got through. So immediate was my mother said that we are coming to pick you, and my brother said we are coming to pick you. Let us go to the temple first. पहले हनुमान जी को प्रणाम कर ले, और उसके बाद में घर पे आते फिर मिलेंगे. तो सीधा हॉस्टल वालों ने बोला कि संभव ही नहीं है, तो तुम जा ही नहीं सकते जब तक कि पार्टी नहीं करेंगे. तो फिर मुझे माँ को बोलना पड़ा भाई कि अगर आ रहे हैं तो कुछ इनको ब्राइब करना पड़ेगा स्टूडेंट्स को, नहीं तो फिर ये निकलने नहीं देंगे. So my mother came with lot of sweets, and then we went, and third day I came again and we celebrated. But it was good. A feeling was very good that you get into, at least you get a job. That is what the feeling was. But still I was aspiring to get into UPSC. And that year also in 95 again I appeared for UPSC interview, civil services interview. But unfortunately I couldn't get through. So twice I appeared, but as luck would have it. बट तब तक जो था फिर भी मन में पूरी तरीके से सेलिब्रेशन इसलिए नहीं होता था कि लगता था कि गोल अगला ये है. ये एक बीच का था, दौर था, और वो भी पहली बार मैंने पीएससी दिया था, वो भी एक्सीडेंटली दिया था क्योंकि मन नहीं था देने का. वो एक मित्र थे जो, वो भी एक बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग कहानी है कि हमारे मित्र थे और वो कहा करते थे कि यार देखो यूपीएससी तो तुम निकाल लोगे तो हमें तो कहीं नौकरी में लगवा दो. तो वी सेड यू नो व्हाट डू यू वांट फ्रॉम मी, आ जाए करो, पढ़ लेते हैं साथ में हम लोग. तो he used to be son of a police officer whose probationer my brother was. He was from Sub Inspector Cadre. He had become CSP by then. CSP is City Superintendent Police, who is DYSP rank officer. So उसका उनका बेटा होता था, वो कहता था कि नहीं हमको भी आप कराइए. तो हमने कहा जो करना है बताओ. तो ऐसे कि what you do is कि पीएससी का फॉर्म भरते हैं साथ में, आगे पीछे बैठेंगे और आगे पीछे बैठेंगे, ऐसे फॉर्म जमा करेंगे तो आप मुझे पास करा देना. हमने कहा कर दीजिए आप अगर होता है तो. फॉर्म भर दिया. जब फॉर्म भरा तो क्योंकि मेरा होम स्टेट बिहार था एंड मध्य प्रदेश जो है बहुत इस मामले में डिस्क्रिमिनेटिव हुआ करता था, पता नहीं आज है कि नहीं. यूपी बिहार वालों को वो लोग दिया ही नहीं करते थे, इंटरव्यू में मार्क्स ही नहीं देते थे. तो जैसे ही पता लगा कि बिहार है तो आई वाज गिवन लाइक यू नो माय सेंटर वाज इन इंदौर. Though I'm residing in Bhopal, so they didn't give me the center Bhopal. It was like, you know, somehow they wanted to dissuade people not to appear for MPPSC so that the seat is like, you know, that slot is left for the state people, domicile people. So मैं इंदौर चला गया तो बेचारे का पानी फिर गया वो तो prelims में नहीं निकले, but I got into the services somehow through the procedure. So that is how the story goes, how I appeared in PSC.
So where did you started your professional journey?
My probation started at Raipur. That was undivided in Madhya Pradesh. And I was made a SHO of Thana called Bhatapara Gramin, again an industrial area. And I tell you, like, police is one job which I'm so fascinated with. And I think this is an organization, or this is one place where you learn so much that no other job gives you opportunity to learn that much. I will tell you that not even the administrative services people can learn about the community as much as the police officers learn, because they see the vices and the good thing from very, very close quarters. Police persons are the only people in the system who have a right or license to enter the kitchen as well as the bedroom. So, when you go there, you see things from very, very close quarters. Now it depends on you how you take it. Either you learn from it and then, you try to do something and say that, okay, by this contribution perhaps we can bring change in the society, or otherwise corrupts you mentally, attitudinally, or financially as well. So this is how you take it. The society is not to be blamed at all for what you are doing and how you grow in the organization. There are certainly some flaws, as I call it in my book on community policing, misnomer or fact. So, I've written that there is a concept called police syndrome. Certainly because day in, day out, we interact with negative people. And the good people who interact with you are only selective. They select you to interact because they think at a later stage, perhaps you may be of some use. Or just to say that, okay, I know a police officer. So it's very selective interaction that you have. So that is the unfortunate part of the police. But again, you choose that path. If you want, you can go beyond. You can go beyond and you can meet good people. You just go. Nobody stops you. And go to any place. Go to any teaching institution and go to a professor, head of the department, and say that, sir, मैं यहाँ हूँ, पदस्थ हूँ और आपसे मिलना चाह रहा था, मैं आपसे सीखना चाहता हूँ. I tell you, they will be more than glad to talk to you, share their experiences, tell you about the subject. So you can always be on the learning curve, but it depends. It totally depends on you.
So how was your first day as a police officer and what was the first task which was given to you?
पहला दिन अगर बोलेंगे, अगर एकेडमी से निकले हैं, क्योंकि एकेडमी हम लोग का करीब 1 साल तो एकेडमी में रहते हैं, और एकेडमी के बाद में then you are sent to those days it used to be the sandwich model. So for 1 year you stay in the academy, then you are sent to the field, and when you go to the field, then for it's almost like, I think if I remember well, it's 6 months I think. So, for 2-3 months, you move around in the SP office, in some Thana. Those are like attachments, where you learn the police procedure. So, that is what you do. And then you are posted as a station house officer of a पुलिस स्टेशन और फिर वहां पे आपका इंटरेस्टिंग होता है. तो इंटरेस्टिंग थाना जब चार्ज दिया गया था, सबसे इंटरेस्टिंग चार्ज था कि आप जब थाने में पहुंचते हैं तो तब तक पुलिसियापन आपके अंदर घुस चुका होता है. आप बड़ा जिसे कहते हैं जोश से इंतजार करते हैं कि मैं अब जा रहा हूँ फील्ड में और मैं बॉस रहूंगा. वो फीलिंग रहती है आपके अंदर. एंड इट इज इन एवरीवन. इट डजंट मैटर लाइक कैसे हो क्या हो, बट वो कहते हैं कि वो अर्ज रहता है आपके अंदर. आई रीच पुलिस स्टेशन एंड आई वाज रिसीव्ड बाय द एसएचओ हु वाज देयर एंड ही वाज सेंट ऑन लीव बिकॉज़ सो दैट ही डजंट इन्फ्लुएंस एनीथिंग. दैट वाज द बेस्ट पार्ट ऑफ द एसपी देयर. एंड एन अमेजिंग एसपी दैट आई हैड. ही वाज मिस्टर सरबजीत सिंह, हु रिटायर्ड रिसेंटली, एंड व्हाट अ लीडर ही वाज. सो लाइक जब जैसे ही हम पहुंचे थाने में तो आई रिसीव्ड अ कॉल पुलिस स्टेशन में कि बोले कि भाई वीरेंद्र यू हैव रीच्ड. आई सेड यस सर. कहते कि वंडरफुल. रखने के लिए कमरा मिल गया कहीं पे छोटी जगह में. ग्रासिम का एक गेस्ट हाउस हुआ करता था. उन्होंने कहा कि उसी में मैंने रखा था. थानेदार साहब ने जो है बोला था वहाँ आपका कमरा कर दिया है. तो आई वॉज देयर इन दैट रूम एंड then suddenly what happens is when I come back to the police station, he says, okay, have you packed your 2-3 clothes? I said, किस लिए सर? बोले कि आप 10 दिन पैदल जाएंगे, सारा गांव जो इलाके का है उसको पैदल घूमेंगे एंड उसके 10 दिन के बाद आप लौटेंगे तब थानेदारी करेंगे. बोले समझिए पहले जाके कि गांव क्या होता है. एंड दैट वाज अ शॉक. मैंने कहा बैठ के थाने की कुर्सी पे बैठ गया, आप आपको बोलते हैं फिर निकलो बाहर और जानते ही नहीं हो, पैदल चलो 10 दिन के लिए पैदल चलो. उठाया सामान और उन्होंने ऐसा एक हुआ करते थे उसको फोन किया, बोला कि तुम साथ में रहोगे इनके, देखना कि सुख सुविधा में दिक्कत ना हो, कि सोने के लिए जगह मिल जाए, प्रॉपर्ली खाना मिल जाए, बट चलेंगे ये पे. And for 10 days I went village to village, used to stay at somebody's place in village. And the best part was that after 10 days when I came back, I knew each village there in my jurisdiction. And besides that, I knew the people there who mattered. And for 3 months when I was SHO there, so things were so easy for me. All the information used to come to me. So this is one model which should be, I think, followed diligently by every officer. Every officer. We don't do it. The moment you reach, they would give you a vehicle now. Those days, even the vehicle was not there. I remember when I came as a probationer, when I reached SP office, so, the same SP told me that, I said, sir, we don't have any vehicle to travel. So if a motorcycle can be given to us. He said कि लाइन में जो लाइन के हैं आरआई हैं, आरआई से आप मांग लीजिए गाड़ी, अगर आपको दे देते हैं तो मैंने बोल के रखा है कि इनको अगर मांगे, अगर है तो दे. अब बोले वही आरआई जो है आपके ब्रदर के साथ भी काम कर चुके, तो बोले कि इसलिए वो तुम्हारी बात ज्यादा मानेंगे, तुम जाओ बात करो उनसे. एंड दो ऑलरेडी हैड पुट अ वर्ड टू हिम दैट व्हीकल इज नॉट सपोज्ड टू बी गिवन. तो अब जो है हम पता लगा कि 3-4 किलो किसी तरह मैनेज करके हम लोग पहुंच रहे हैं ऑफिस, एसपी ऑफिस डेली बेसिस पे. वी वर 2 प्रोबेशनर्स, 2 बैचमेट्स. फिर एक दिन उन्होंने बोला कि अच्छा काम करते, गाड़ी नहीं दे रहा ना आ रहा है तो तुमको साइकिल दिला दे. बोले कि हम अपने जमाने में साइकिल में घूमते थे, तो तुम लोग भी साइकिल में घूमो, मजा आएगा. सो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिवली व्हेन वी सी दैट, तो लगता है कि इट वाज वेरी गुड. सो क्योंकि बहुत डिस्टेंसेस नहीं है, डिस्टेंसेस जाना है तो थाने की गाड़ी आ जाती है आपको, सीएसपी की गाड़ी आ जाती है आपको ले जाने के लिए, सब कुछ ठीक है. But when you are on foot and when you are on bicycles, and it is not relevant anyway. I mean, जो उस जमाने में हुआ अब इस जमाने में अगर replicate करना चाहें तो I think it is not very logical. But still, I feel that that 10-day visit as an SHO going to the village, you get the pulse of the people where you're serving, and that is very important. If you have to be an effective, efficient, and sensitive officer, then you should stay with the community for a while. And when I say stay with the community, it is not like going in a vehicle, just dropping there. लोगों को इकट्ठा कर लिया, बात कर लिया, 2 घंटे बैठे साहब बन के और उसके बाद में फिर गाड़ी में बैठे निकल गए, आपको कुछ नहीं सिखाया.
So initial challenges apart from vehicle, और इसके अलावा क्या क्या challenges आपको फेस करने पड़े जब नई पोस्टिंग आपको मिली?
बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग होता है कि देखिए आप जब पहुंचते हैं, इंडियन पुलिस जो है, इंडियन का पुलिस सिस्टम जो है बहुत डिफरेंट है विदेशों से. सो you have to be jack of all trades and master of none. So when you reach, and I think in after 10 days when I came back, even in the 10 days वहीं जाते आते ही कोई चोरी की खबर आ रही है, कभी कुछ आ रहा है, सब स्टार्ट हो गया. But after coming, perhaps in those 3 months, I did 2 murder cases, robbery, ये वो name it, and all sort of crimes we handled. And straight away as a student, when you come and land up and start dealing with such cases, is very difficult. It gives you a shock as well, because by that time you think everything is very flowery. You are coming from a background which is very comfortable background, and when you come and you have an interface with the community and realize these are the vices in the community, these are the things which are happening in the community, कोई बहुत बड़ा challenge होता है आपको. Psychologically it is not that easy. That is the time when we need to have a good guide, mentor and psychologist जो आपको बढ़िया से shape करे. ये हमारे सिस्टम में नहीं है. अगर प्रोबेशनर्स जब भी आते हैं, चाहे किसी लेवल का प्रोबेशनर हो, चाहे सब इंस्पेक्टर का प्रोबेशनर हो, डीवाईएसपी प्रोबेशनर हो या आईपीएस प्रोबेशनर हो, उसके साथ में ये चीजें करना चाहिए कि वो ग्रास्प कैसे कर रहा है, वो कैसे ले रहा है, क्योंकि वो स्टेज आपका ग्रूमिंग स्टेज है, नर्चर कर रहा है आपको. उस टाइम पे आप गलत दिशा में चले गए, खत्म हो गया. सो आई थिंक दीज थिंग्स आर बिग चैलेंजेस. द रियलिटी इज डिफरेंट देन व्हाट यू स्टडी थ्योरेटिकली इन एकेडमीज.
सो नाउ पोस्ट बिकमिंग, वो ऑफिसर बनने की फीलिंग और पहला अकम्प्लिशमेंट क्या था?
पहला अकम्प्लिशमेंट ये था कि नाउ यू आर इन अ पोजीशन दैट सर्टेनली यू कैन मेक सम डिफरेंस, एंड और दूसरा जो ये फीलिंग था कि चलो अब मुक्त हो गए पढ़ाई से. और अनफॉर्चुनेटली वो मेरे लिए कभी नहीं हो पाया, क्योंकि आई एम ऑलवेज ऑन लर्निंग का. क्योंकि आने के बाद नौकरी के फिर व्हेन आई वाज डेटिंग माय वाइफ, शी टर्न आउट टू बी अ मास्टर्स, एंड जब तक हमारा ट्रेनिंग खत्म हुआ तब तक उसका पीएचडी का भी ऑलमोस्ट खत्म होने की स्थिति में आ गया. आई वाज अ सिंपल ग्रेजुएट, तो वो डॉक्टर बन गई तुरंत और हम ग्रेजुएट थे, तो थोड़ा सा लगा यार कि थोड़ा हम भी पढ़ लेते हैं इनके साथ में. I started doing masters, then I did my masters, then I did my PhD, and then after there has been I have never stopped. So, but वो accomplishment की feeling तो जरूर आती है उस वक्त. I mean, you feel elated that you are not in rat race anymore.
So, what were your roles and responsibility as Director, National Institute of Social Defence, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India?
देखिए, मेरी जिंदगी में अगर मैं बोलूँ कि कुछ चीजें जो वाटरलू होता है, जिससे कि बड़ा प्रोफेशनली आपके growth में या आपके which has helped me broaden my vistas. So one has been the deputation, and the second has been my UN missions. Or I would say the first has been my UN missions, because those were what I did right in the beginning, and second was the deputation with Government of India. They have been amazing places that I have worked. So what I am is just because of these exposures that I have got and the opportunities that I got there. तो UN mission ये है कि भाई, क्योंकि इसीलिए कि इतने सारे कंट्री के पुलिस ऑफिसर्स के साथ आप काम करते हैं कि आपको कल्चरली बहुत ग्रो कर जाते हैं. यू कम टू नो पीपल फ्रॉम ऑल वॉक्स ऑफ लाइफ, एंड यू सी प्लेसेस विच आर डिफिकल्ट सिचुएशंस, एंड एट द सेम टाइम यू इंटरेक्ट विद ऑफिसर्स फ्रॉम मोर देन 70-80 कंट्रीज और इवन मोर. तो एक ये बड़ा ज़बरदस्त आपका ग्रोथ हुआ है. तो मेरा उसी में सबसे पहले, जैसे मैं बोस्निया हर्जेगोविना गया था way back in 97-98, because I'm 95 batch, so just after probation I went. So straight from you can say that straight from the academy I was in your UN mission. So in those days it was not that stringent. तो उसके बाद में फिर second 2004-05 में मैं कोसोवो गया, and 2009 में वाइफ जब ईस्ट तिमोर गई थी तो मैं उनके साथ 6 महीने के लिए वहाँ उनके साथ रहा. तो इसीलिए ये एक बड़ा मेरा बेनिफिशियल रहा. उसके बाद when I went as a Hubert Humphrey Fellowship to USA, that again it helped me a lot, because that was a great exposure and experience that I got, and I was already working on human trafficking subject, and I got a chance to at least do presentations in more than 40 places, and I went to Boston University, सारे आप Georgetown, George Mason, Buffalo, ये सारे यूनिवर्सिटीज में जाके, मिनियापोलिस में था ही, हर 5वें-6वें दिन कहीं ना कहीं प्रेजेंट करता रहता. तो that helped me a lot. But when I came to central government deputation as first as CARA chief, CEO CARA, Central Adoption Resource Authority, so that helped me translate my vision into action. That is one thing which I was unable to do when I was in state, because it's a very stringent hierarchical structure in police. So you depend a lot on your bosses. But when you come to an autonomous body, and particularly Government of India, so you have given that much of freedom that you can implement what you want. And if you have a good vision, you can do that. So the online system of adoption we brought in 2014. There was a big change happening, paradigm shift in adoption system. And there was reason. We did it after doing a lot of research. Like, how do we stop institutional trafficking, if I have to use that word? when the children were being like picked from specialized adoption agencies by just, by negotiation from many places, not exactly from all places, but there were many places where it used to happen. So this thing brought in a level playing ground. So that is one experience in Kara that I had, that was an amazing experience that I had. Then I moved to Nehru Yuva Kendra Sangathan as Executive Director and Director National Service Scheme. So those are the biggest organizations in the country working with youth. So at one time we had more than 1 crore youth connected to these organizations, and I was fortunate enough to be in both organizations at one time. So that also helped me to understand the youth. You know that India right now, the average age of the Indian population is 29. And as per the 2014 youth policy, the age bracket for a person to be considered to be youth is up to 29, 15 to 29. So India is a youth country by age. So working with youth helped me a lot. But again, there I learned that the concept of volunteerism that we have been talking about is more aid from Western world rather than what we used to have traditionally or in ancient scriptures which is written, because volunteerism is in our blood. Indian system में, Indian blood में volunteerism है, but unfortunately हम लोग उसको फॉलो ही नहीं करते. तो वो मुझे गुंजाइश मिला यूथ पे काम करने का और उस पे करने के लिए. So that helped me a lot to grow, to understand youth from a national perspective. Pan India, I got a chance to interact with them. When I came to NISD, National Institute of Social Defense, then we had 4 mandates. One was working with transgender, second was working with drug dependents, third was senior citizens, and fourth was beggary. So that again was a great experience, because for the first time I could understand what transgender persons are, what they go through. And that is what I have written. My latest book is going to come, which has been published by Routledge. Everything is done. And if everything goes well, perhaps it should come by next month. So, that is a book on transgender. So I understood, learned that this is one community perhaps which is most marginalized community in Indian society. And as we call it, they are visibly invisible because we see them every day, but we hardly think about them. So that moved me a lot. And so I started connecting with them. So I always feel like at home when I'm with transgenders and discussing with them their issues, their area of work, and how to mainstream them, how to make it more inclusive. So wherever we go, we try to do that. I mean, even I have left NIST, it's been more than 2 years now, almost 2 years now. So, but still, wherever I get opportunity, I talk about transgender persons. So, so the NISD was a place where I learned that always we should not see things from criminal justice system lens. Many things we need to see from a social justice system lens. Like a drug dependent. As a police officer, if a drug dependent, or as we call it, drug addict, comes to us, we'll say that, okay, अरे यार ये तो नशेड़ी है, लो इसको बंद करो, और या नहीं तो इसको होश में लाओ, इसके माँ बाप के पास दे के आ जाओ. That is how you react. Not understanding that if a person has become a drug dependent, it is because of your failure. It is our failure, that when he was getting into drugs, when he was moving from a used stance to abuse stand, we did not help him. तो ये सारा जो लेंस, जो देखने की चीजें जो बदली है, नजरिया बदला है, वो इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में काम करने के बाद बहुत बदला.
सबसे ज्यादा रगड़ाई कब हुई ट्रेनिंग में आपकी?
ट्रेनिंग में जब हम एकेडमी में थे तो एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग होता था कि दौड़ाया बहुत करते हैं, और मेरे साथ में दौड़ने का शौक नहीं. आई कैन वॉक फॉर kilometers and kilometers. If you ask me, I can walk for whole day, and I walk brisk. But मुझे दौड़ने का शौक नहीं है, ना मुझे दौड़ने का मन करता है, ना वो होता है. तो जब हम लोग एकेडमी में दौड़ते थे, सागर में एकेडमी हुआ करता था, तो दौड़ते थे तो एक पोत के बगल में आके मैं छिप जाया करता, तो पूरी टोली चली आती थी. मगर उस्ताद को पता था कि ये छिपा है या नहीं है, क्योंकि टोली इतनी छोटी होती है कि लोगों को पता लग जाता है कि अच्छा ये बंदा हमारा गायब हो चुका है. एंड एवरी डे यूज्ड टू, उसके बाद में आता था, धीरे से बोलता था कि मिश्रा जी दौड़ लिया करिए, जब फील्ड में दौड़ना पड़ेगा तो बड़ी मुश्किल होगी. तो फिर मैं उनको ये बोलता था कि ये उस्ताद जी ये बताइए कि मेरे भाई ने ट्रेनिंग किया और सुना है कि एनपीए में दौड़ा के पागल कर देते हैं, बट मैं कभी उनको दौड़ते हुए तो यहाँ देखता नहीं. जब आने के बाद में फील्ड में काम कर रहे, तो उनको जब भी दौड़ना होता है तो अपनी मर्जी से सुबह दौड़ने जाते हैं, तो वो बात अलग है, बट अदरवाइज तो फील्ड में दौड़ते कभी देखा नहीं. तो आप लोग हमको दौड़ के हम लोग को बर्नआउट क्यों करते हैं? आप छोड़ दिया करिए. So this is like, how I used to give logic to my not running. But he was a sweet guy. किसी तरीके से push करते थे, pep करते थे.
So any heart-touching problem you came across in your journey, and how did you give the solution for that particular problem?
मैंने जैसे आपको बताया कि if you're in police, you come and interact from a very close quarters, lot many things. So once I was posted in नरसिंहगढ़, तो वहाँ पे जब हम कर रहे थे तो काम करते करते accidentally I landed up in a village called बेड़िया कम्युनिटी का विलेज था. नाम गाँव का नहीं बता रहा हूँ. बेड़िया कम्युनिटी इज इनटू ट्रेडिशनली दे आर इनटू इंटरजेनरेशनल प्रोस्टिट्यूशन. तो जब मैं वहाँ पहुँचा तो बड़ा दुख हुआ ये बात सुन देख के कि 13-14 साल की बच्चियों को वो लोग प्रोस्टिट्यूशन में दे वर प्रोस्टिट्यूटेड एंड प्रोस्टिट्यूटेड बाय मदर्स because many of the children won't be having identifiable biological parents because they are fathered by customers. और ये एक ट्रेडिशन है उस कम्युनिटी. बेड़िया, पाछड़ा, कुछ जगहों पे नट में भी है. यहाँ पे पेड़ना करके आपके इस इलाके में मिल जाएगा दिल्ली के अगल बगल में. तो वहाँ पे जब आया था तो it touched me a lot and I got very very sensitive and I started working with that community. और उस कम्युनिटी के साथ में करीब 2007 में जब मैं पोस्टेड था तब से काम करना शुरू किया हम लोगों ने. एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन संवेदना करके जो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन जिसके बारे में आप इंट्रोडक्शन के टाइम पढ़ रहे थे, वो ऑर्गेनाइजेशन हमने 2002 में मैंने बनाया था उसको स्लम्स के बच्चों के साथ काम करने के लिए. तो उसका काम हमने पूरा शिफ्ट कर दिया कि नहीं बेड़िया के साथ ही करेंगे. एंड इन 2010 देयर वाज अ गर्ल वाज 12-13 ईयर ओल्ड गर्ल हु वांटेड टू स्टडी. तो उसको सपोर्ट करने के लिए हम लोग उसको भोपाल लेके आए और उनके साथ में 13 बच्चों को हम लोग लाना पड़ा. नेगोशिएशन बड़ा टफ था उनके मदर्स के साथ में और गांव वालों के साथ में. उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं बच्चों को ले जाना पड़ेगा 13 को, तभी हम इस बच्ची को जाने देंगे, क्योंकि हमारा फोकस एरिया, मेरा फोकस एरिया सिर्फ वही बच्ची थी तब. एंड वो आ गई और हम लोगों ने काम शुरू किया. करते करते उस गांव से काम बढ़ के आज हम लोग 60 गाँव में काम करते हैं. वी वर्किंग इन 60 villages of बेड़िया community in 6 districts of Madhya Pradesh. And somewhere like, more than 5,500 children we are working with. And that first girl who came with us, who was very, very vulnerable, a potential victim, has appeared for UPSC Civil Services interview just 10 days back. So this is one thing which does. So whenever I talk to a colleague police officers, so that is what I tell them. जो मैं शुरू में भी आपको बता रहा था कि ये आपको होता है कि क्या लेते हैं देख के, क्या लेते हैं क्या नहीं लेते. मगर सिस्टम आपको इतना देता है कि अगर आप यू वांट टू बी अ चेंज एजेंट, देन यू हैव दैट मच ऑफ स्पेस टू बी अ चेंज एजेंट. एंड इफ ब्यूरोक्रेट्स बिकम चेंज एजेंट नॉट थ्रू पॉलिसीज, एक होता है पॉलिसी का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन होता है, एक होता है पर्सनल लेवल पे जो होता है, जहाँ क्योंकि पॉलिसी इम्प्लीमेंटेशन में चीजें पर्सनलाइज नहीं होती है. जहाँ पर्सनलाइज नहीं होता है, जहाँ अटैचमेंट आपका खुद नहीं होता, क्योंकि कॉन्सेप्ट है जिसको कॉन्सेप्ट को मैं वॉलंटियरिज्म में बोला करता था कि BOI, उसको कॉन्सेप्ट में बोलता था. BOI का मतलब होता था वन इज बिलोंगिंगनेस. अनलेस एंड अंटिल यू देयर इज अ कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ बिलोंगिंगनेस, द पर्सन whom you are working with, they don't feel that they belong to that work. और आप अपने आप को उतना बिलोंग नहीं करते हैं. और सेकेंड इज ओन करना नहीं शुरू करते और इंक्लूसिव नहीं रखते हैं. 3 पार्ट है BOI का. वो फिर तब तक वो सक्सेस स्टोरी नहीं बनता है. तो पर्सनल लेवल पे जब करेंगे तो BOI होगा. सो अगर हर आदमी एक ही मुद्दे को, एक ही विषय को लेके किसी के साथ भी कर ले, पर्सनलाइज कर ले और हटे भी वहां से, तो कंटिन्यू कर जाए वहां पे वो काम कर, तो इतनी ताकत तो ब्यूरोक्रेसी में है कि भारत बदल जाएगा, तुरंत बदल जाएगा.
So what advice would you like to give on how to avoid human trafficking and where to approach?
देखिए, ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग पहला तो ये है कि कॉन्सेप्ट ही लोगों को नहीं पता है. थोड़ा सा मेरा इस विषय में ये भी रहता है कि जब पॉलिसी मेकर्स एंड, क्योंकि हम भी पार्ट रहे हैं पॉलिसी मेकिंग के, law making. So sometimes to great extent I would say that the policies and laws that we make should be more evidence based. So for that we need to do a lot of research. And when we say research should not be more secondary, because in India the research more is of secondary than primary data पे. कि कोई कुछ लिखा है, कहीं किसी ने किया हुआ है तो उसी को हम कोट करते रहते हैं. अगर आप देखेंगे हमारे रिसर्च को तो 90% अगर रेफरेंसेस और कोटेशंस अगर आपका आएगा, अगर कोई पेपर भी लिखता है तो वेस्टर्न वालों के जो लिखे हुए हैं उसको हम कोट करते हैं. इवन द थ्योरीज दैट वी राइट इन आर्टिकल्स, और या जो भी अगर हम रिसर्च पेपर लिखेंगे उसमें 80-90% जो बाहर किसी ने स्टडी किया है उसको हम कोट कर रहे होते हैं. इंडियन सिस्टम, इंडियन वैल्यू सिस्टम, इंडियन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑफ कल्चर इज ऑल टुगेदर डिफरेंट देन व्हाट is there in Western world. And if at all anybody has written about India, a Western person is writing about India, he is seeing the things from his or her lens. You are an insider. They are going to be an outsider. So this is what we have to understand. We have to create a research, a pool of research work in India, and वो भी primary पे, which perhaps is missing a lot. इसीलिए हमने एक रेस लैब जो एस्टैब्लिश किया संविधान में, दैट इज कॉल्ड रिसर्च एडवोकेसी एंड कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग अगेंस्ट एक्सप्लॉइटेशन. दिस इज परहैप्स द फर्स्ट एंटी ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग लैब इन द कंट्री वी हैव एस्टैब्लिश्ड. एंड एज यू आस्क अबाउट ट्रैफिकिंग, मैं यही बोलता हूँ जब, क्योंकि मैं अब जाते ही फिर से मुझे 2021 को भी मध्य प्रदेश पुलिस में HTU को ट्रेन करना है. अभी टाटा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ सोशल साइंस में हम लोगों ने 5 दिन का ट्रेनिंग कराया था. जिंदल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी में जैसे ऑलमोस्ट 1 क्रेडिट का हम लोगों ने पढ़ाया. RRU के साथ, RRU जो है राष्ट्रीय रक्षा यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ हम लोग प्लान कर रहे हैं, या जाके मौका मिलता है तो जो डिस्कशन करते हैं. तो ये सारी जगह पे हम पहला ये समझाना चाहते हैं कि ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग जो डेफिनेशन, कन्वेंशनल डेफिनेशन में है, उससे बियॉन्ड है. वो जो हमें बताया गया है वो सब कुछ नहीं है, बहुत छोटा सा पार्ट है, क्योंकि ये डेफिनेशन 2000 में दिया गया था. अभी जो बिल में जो डेफिनेशन दिया गया फिर भी वो काफी एग्जॉस्टिव है, काफी चीजें उसमें ऐड हुई हैं. और इंडिया कैन बी अ लीडर इन एंटी ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग वर्ल्ड. अब USA रिलीजेस ट्रैफिकिंग इन पर्सन्स रिपोर्ट एंड रैंक्स ऑल द कंट्रीज. व्हाई कांट इंडिया डू दैट? I mean, why do we always want to see the Western world that what they are saying about a subject? We have the best brains here. The field is open to us. चीजें अब हमको भी, इंडियंस को भी अब लीडर के रूप में माना शुरू कर दिए हैं, तो हमें क्रिएट करने की जरूरत है. So that is what is the mandate of the lab that we are doing, and we are trying to make people understand what first human trafficking is, and on the basis of that, then we are working on engaging the stakeholders for advocacy and capacity building of all stakeholders. तो ये इस तरीके से हम लोग बड़े systematic and organized way में काम करने का प्रयास कर रहे हैं.
So what is your definition of human trafficking?
Definition बहुत बड़ा है. अगर आप सेक्शन 370 में चले जाएंगे IPC के, और UN का पैलेमो डेफिनेशन चले जाएंगे, बट अगर मेरे से कोई पूछे तो बड़े 2 लाइन में मैं उसको एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ. Human trafficking is nothing but exploitation of vulnerability. Now the question comes, whose vulnerability? Maybe at the same situation, I can be vulnerable and my neighbor can be vulnerable. Same situation है, socio-cultural, economic, political, same situation में हम दोनों उस वक्त हैं. तो whose vulnerability is exposed or exploited? जो व्यक्ति अपने vulnerability को expose कर देता है, trafficker उसी को exploit. So trafficking is nothing, exploitation of vulnerability, and the vulnerability of those persons who expose their vulnerability. When you get desperate and start keeping putting on websites, putting on social media, or talking to people said that कि अरे बड़ा बुरा हाल है यार, यहाँ से निकलना है, ये करना है, वो करना है, you are talking about your vulnerability too much. The trafficker knows how to groom you and how to take you out. So ये सिंपल है. इसीलिए इसी तरीके से हमको समझाना है. वल्नरेबिलिटी एड्रेस करने के लिए सोशल जस्टिस सिस्टम अगर फुल फ्लेज्ड आएगा तभी काम होगा. बिकॉज वल्नरेबिलिटी कुड बी सोशल, कुड बी पॉलिटिकल, कुड बी कल्चरल, कुड बी इकोनॉमिकल, कुड बी एनवायरमेंटल. नेचुरल कैटास्ट्रॉफ हो गया तो उसमें कोई कुछ नहीं कर सकता, वल्नरेबिलिटी तो आ गई है. बट उस वल्नरेबिलिटी में जो वल्नरेबल सिचुएशन है वो एक्सपोज ना कर पाए, उसके लिए कैसे हम एक सपोर्ट सिस्टम डेवलप करते हैं, कैसे एक हम शील्ड क्रिएट करते हैं जो सिस्टम हमारा है, सोशल जस्टिस सिस्टम, वही अपने आप में इनफ है ह्यूमन ट्रैफिकिंग को रोकने के.
So as per your experience, what is the role of technology that helps human trafficker and they increase their human trafficking?
Very interesting. Yesterday I met 2 cyberspace experts. That was just to discuss these issues. See, what we say is use and abuse of cyberspace for human trafficking. So when we say use of cyberspace for human trafficking, so that is a positive side that we normally talk about, is how can we use the cyberspace to stop human trafficking. That is more an anti-human trafficking. And one is cyber-enabled trafficking. That is abuse of cyberspace for trafficking. So how the cyberspace is, it enables for the traffickers to traffic. What happens is in human trafficking, there are normally 3 stages. One is the recruitment, the second is transit, the movement, and third is at the destination place when the person is received and maintained for exploitation perpetually. तो अगर देखेंगे तो साइबर स्पेस तीनों चीज के लिए आजकल यूज करना शुरू कर दिया. तो बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस हमें कोई बता रहे थे, जो हमारे मित्र आए हुए थे मिलने के लिए. उनका कहना था कि there was a case where a girl was in a cyberspace contacted, then groomed, because that girl exposed her vulnerability, saying that I'm fed up, I'm not at all enjoying the place where I am. I want to grow, perhaps maybe for a model or for whatever, for a job or something. So that person contacted through social media, said, okay, do one thing, I'm sending you the ticket, just board the train, come, you will get a vehicle at the station and you will be taken to a place where you're going to get a good job. बोले तुम्हारे माता पिता अगर तुम इमीडिएट बोलोगे तो मानेंगे नहीं, तो इसलिए आ जाओ, उनको तुम सरप्राइज देना वहां से. स्मॉल गर्ल्स, बॉयज फ्रॉम स्मॉल प्लेसेस, मफसिल टाउन्स, इनको वो अपॉर्चुनिटी के रूप में देखते हैं. तो उस केस में उन्होंने क्या किया कि वो बकायदा लड़की गई, ट्रेन पकड़ के आई, दिल्ली पहुंची. दिल्ली में उसको बकायदा स्टेशन पे एक गाड़ी खड़ी मिली, गाड़ी ने लिया, उसको लेके गए जहाँ पे डेस्टिनेशन पे था, उसको रोका वहां पे पहाड़गंज या कहीं पे उसी जगह पे रखा उसको. एंड सेकेंड डे somebody came and said that okay, we are now picking you to take you to the office. Everything was going very good as per plan or as promised, and that girl landed up in Rocky. So you can see that not a single person was visible throughout here. The right from the recruitment stage to transit to destination point, where she has been received by a person and maintained now for sexual exploitation, has happened everything through cyberspace. So अब तो scenario change हो रहा है, तो बहुत बदल रहा है.
So how to avoid these cyber crimes?
This is just information. I give you an example. I remember when I was in USA as a Humphrey Fellow, there was a case where a girl, they were talking about human trafficking in schools. There was a girl who went to the airport, must have been 14, 15 or something like that, or 16-year-old girl. And she was approached by a trafficker at the airport. And he wanted to befriend. Now, already just few days back, a session was taken in the school and she was told about what is the modus operandi of the trafficker. How would they recruit? How would they woo the person? So she could draw the parallels between this person who was approaching and what was taught in the school. Immediately she raised alarm. When she raised alarm, the trafficker ran or was apprehended, whatever, and she was saved. So this is how effective when you do the capacity building of the people in the field, spread awareness about what human trafficking is, how they can prevent themselves. Three things happen to a person. Why do we do that? One, unknowingly you can become a part of trafficking network. You don't even know because you don't know what human trafficking is. Actually, if I ask you what human trafficking is, what hits your mind is sexual exploitation in brothels. Or this, as we call them, call girls or the escort services. Something like that. That is what most of the people think trafficking is. Then again, if you start asking more, then they would talk about forced labor. But there are many more dimensions to that. These are not the only two dimensions of trafficking. And even in sex trafficking, there would be different type of sex trafficking for different purposes. So that is what everyone should know. What one is trafficking. And they can be vulnerable. One. So their vulnerability can be exploited. So how can they save themselves from that, being a victim? Second, that if they know what trafficking is, they do not become any way accidentally, intentionally or unintentionally part of the trafficking network. And third, if you see something happening around you and if you know this is trafficking, so you can be a whistleblower or be a source who can stop trafficking.
So what's your opinion? How can we improve the image of police in front of public?
The image of the police cannot be improved if at all it is bad. When we come to the image, it has to be a collective effort. The police is doing a lot. Police is even trying to come out and say that what good things they are doing. They are trying to publicize it. But as we say, that 100 goods can be wiped out by one bad thing. It's a huge force. Even just Madhya Pradesh must be having more than 1 lakh, police officers there. So it's a huge force. You can't expect that every person is going to be a saint in the system. And in fact, everybody has flaws. Everybody is have some shortcomings, weakness or strengths. One thing we need to realize is that police is not getting dropped from a parachute or is not coming from an alien land. They are, as you are, a community member. So what they do is reflection of what you are and what you expect. The day we start understanding that, then you will stop pointing a finger towards police. Because the moment I remove my uniform, I become either a brother or a sister. or a son of a mother or father, or I become a husband of a wife, and I become a friend of my friends, just like you are. So why do you consider us to be a different? Why do you expect that all of a sudden we are going to be like, flawless, and all the flaws that you have seen in yourself is not going to be reflected in us? So we have to be a little practical. We have to understand that. And then we have to work together collectively to somehow salvage the image of.
So what was the most challenging task of your career?
The most challenging task of my career has been to balance many things, because I write a lot. This is my 8th book which is coming. I'm into social work, as you see that I do many things. At the same time, professionally, I always try to be at par with my colleagues, never ever to be a step behind. So it's always you're on the ball. But the best part, what I think is, the other two things that I'm talking about, writing or these things, that is all inspired from my job. And everything is coming from what I learn in my professional space, and that is the best part. So that is why I say that it is. I take it as a catharsis. These are the places where anything, if negative gets into me, being in in the profession or in other spaces. So this is one way of venting out. So that's my catharsis. So that keeps me happy. That keeps me elated, and always ready to give your optimum when you are in wherever you are, in whatever capacity.
So how would you define power?
Power basically is nothing but power is what the situation will give you, where you can influence people. So power is a very positive word, but it has been very negatively interpreted and negatively used. So the situation of dominance, the situation of dominance is given to you just because thinking that you're capable enough, or you have the capacity to do something, but that should not be ever used to exploit others.
So what advice would you like to give to young officers?
When you get into services, when you in interview, if somebody asks why you want to get into bureaucracy, so I think everybody says that we want to serve the community. So let this sentence not remain in the interview boardroom. Let it become their reality. And I would like to tell the young officers and all bureaucrats that they can be change agents, and a very powerful change agents, because God has blessed them, the community has blessed them, and at the same time, the government has given them a very important responsibility to be a change agent. Let them play their role as it is expected in rule books. I'm not asking them to do something beyond rule books. This is what the rule book says.
So what all are do's and don'ts you would suggest while preparing for your UPSC examination?
See, one thing which is very challenging, because we talk about people who just get through UPSCs. That is what is glamorized about it. But a very small percentage or fraction of people just get into services. Imagine every year, must be lakhs of people appearing for examination, and finally only say around 600, 700 people get through. So what about the rest of them? I would say not a very appropriate system which is there in UPSC selection is that even if you get through mains and you reach interview level, but if you do not get through overall, you're nowhere. You're back on the street. Since they have tested, because this is one of the toughest examinations in the world. So once you have reached and crossed, you have done mains and you have appeared for interview, then certainly there should be some job for them. So that at least, because you have already tested that they have that much of metal in them, that substance is there. So, but that is not there. Maybe you reach UPSC interview stage for twice, thrice, but if you do not get through, next time you are still seeking a job with a certificate in hand, going door to door and saying that, okay, please give me a job. And many of them land up having nothing. That is very, very frustrating, because it's a 1-year cycle. When somebody is appearing for UPSC, he is not preparing for anything else. He's just dreaming, sleeping, eating, everything he's doing is for civil services. And if he doesn't get through, he's doomed. So that is one thing it should not be done. And this thing should be told to the aspirants as well, that this is not the end of the world. Even if you don't clear prelims, but even that you have the guts to appear for this exam is good enough to prove that you stand in a good stead. Many people who haven't got through UPSC are doing amazingly well, much better than many of the bureaucrats of this country. So this is not end of the line, and sky is not falling if you don't get through UPSC. So take it in that spirit, if you get through, certainly you can do a lot. But even if you don't get through, you can certainly do a lot.
So, what would you like to say to young graduates who are just entering professional work?
Young graduates entering professional work. Another thing, like, what we have been talking of late, even in corporate sector and other places, that job is your contribution certainly to the system, but beyond job as well, there is life. So never ever shirk or shed your social obligations. Never do that. Because what is important is life. And life has to be qualitative. Because you can never measure the quantity of life. इसी मोड़ पे कब अंधेरा मिल जाए पता नहीं है, तो इसीलिए आप क्वालिटिवली जिए, और क्वालिटी जीने के लिए सोशल लाइफ होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. That will keep you mentally healthy, and maybe you will be able to contribute more to the system as well.
So, what would you like to say to people or young graduates who are directionless?
It is not directionless. Nobody is directionless. It is just the distraction that they're having. And the second is, like, they won't be knowing exactly which path to tread on. So seek help of your seniors. बड़ा interesting एक आपको कहानी सुनाते हैं कि हमारा जो बड़ा वाला बेटा है, he is interested in making films. Though he's 24 now and he has been writing scripts since 17-18. एक बार एक script लिख रहे थे when he was 19 and he was in St. Xavier's, Mumbai. So he said he was writing about a character. It was a short story and the character was an old guy, like, a person who is around 80. तो वो मेरे पास पहुंचा और उसने ये कहा कि अच्छा ये बताइए कि हमारे समय पे और आपके समय पे ओल्ड पर्सन्स के लिए क्या फर्क हो गया. Those days I was with the NISD, National Institute of Social Defense, and I was working with senior citizens. तो मैंने कहा मुझे जो दिखता है, and that was extempore. I didn't read or plan something to say, but मेरे दिमाग से यही निकला अचानक. मैंने कहा कि हमारे ज़माने में जो ओल्ड एज होता था उनको हम लोग बुजुर्ग बोलते थे और तुम लोग बुढ़ा बोलते हो. मैंने कहा बुजुर्ग और बुढ़ा में अप्रोच में ही फ़र्क है. जैसे तुम बुढ़ा बोलते हो तो तुम जनरेशन गैप की बात करते हो, और जब हम लोग बुजुर्ग बोलते थे तो हम ये मान के चलते थे कि उनके पास ज़बरदस्त एक्सपीरियंस है, देयर रिजर्वॉयर ऑफ एक्सपीरियंस. तो हम उनके पास जाते थे पूछने के लिए, और तुम लोग उनसे मिलने से कतराते हो कि वो बुढ़े हैं, वो जनरेशन गैप है, उनको मोबाइल चलाना नहीं आता है, उनको ये करना नहीं आता. यू फाइंड फॉल्ट इन दैम. So to those people who don't know exactly what to do, go and meet these people. I tell you that amazing. Just imagine, like, after 7 years I am going to retire. और 60 साल के एक दिन रिटायरमेंट के पहले तक मुझे सरकार समझती है कि मैं बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट आदमी हूँ सिस्टम में, और एक दिन बाद में निकम्मा हो जाता हूँ. तो ऐसा कुछ होता है क्या? ये ऑन एंड ऑफ है क्या स्विच बटन? ये तो सरकार को कभी ना कभी तो रिटायर करना ही है, इसलिए करती है वो रिटायर, क्योंकि स्पेस दूसरे के लिए हमको क्रिएट करना है. बट इसका मतलब नहीं है कि आप खत्म हो गए. मगर आप जैसे ही रिटायर होते हैं तो आधी से ज्यादा दुनिया आपके प्रति जो देखना है, उनका जो नजरिया है वो बदल जाता है. क्यों बदल जाता है? इसीलिए क्योंकि इंडिया एक एजिंग कंट्री की तरफ बढ़ रहा है. Every 10 years, decades, there is increase of 2 to 3% in senior citizens. And when we say 3% of 1.4 billion people, so you can just imagine how much is like going to be the population of senior citizens. उनको भी engage करने की जरूरत है हमको, और ये यूथ को ही करना पड़ेगा. यूथ ही कर सकती है, और यूथ उनसे जितना फायदा ले सकते हैं ले लें. They are available. तो फिर कोई directionless नहीं रहेगा.
So any particular question from your interview you still remember?
बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग एक हुआ करता था कि क्वेश्चन की मैं 2 बार जब इंटरव्यू देने गया, दोनों बार, बल्कि पीएससी में भी अगर गया, तो एक चीज बड़ा मतलब एक फिक्स्ड था क्वेश्चन जो मेरे से पूछा जाता था कि आप कहाँ से हैं. तो बिकॉज माई होम टाउन इज भागलपुर, दो आई हैवंट स्टेड देयर, आई कॉल माई सेल्फ एज NRB, नॉन रेजिडेंट बिहारी. दो अगर पूछे कि क्या हो तो मैं घोर बिहारी बोलता हूँ. घोर इज अ टर्म व्हिच इज यूज्ड टू देम. वैसे मैं घोर बिहारी हूँ, बट NRB हूँ, नॉन रेजिडेंट बिहारी हूँ, बिकॉज आई हैवंट स्टेड इन बिहार except for that 1 year when I lost my father. मतलब continuation. But I love that state. I love that state like anything, because of the strong and rich culture that Bihar has. तो इंटरव्यू में जैसे ही जाते थे तो जैसे पता लगता था कि अच्छा आपका होम टाउन इज भागलपुर, वी आर बोर्न इन भागलपुर. ओके, बताइए कि भागलपुर किस चीज के लिए फेमस है. Now that's a very dicey question, किस चीज के लिए फेमस है. अगर कोई साइकोलॉजिस्ट बैठा हो तो आप क्या बोलोगे कि अखफुड़वा कांड के लिए फेमस है कि सिल्क के लिए फेमस है. Whenever I used to answer and say that silk of Bhagalpur is very popular and it's very good, तो कहते थे कि क्यों आपका वो जो अंधा जो किया था उनको क्रिमिनल्स को, उसके लिए जाना नहीं जाता भागलपुर. that is one very sticky wicket that you're on. You don't know exactly how to answer because whatever you answer, you're wrong.
So now we'll start a rapid round.
Yeah,
Success in one line.
that's in your mind. Every day is a success.
Your favorite actor and actress.
I told you I don't have any permanent.
Your favorite color.
Black.
Your favorite destination.
Home. Sweet home.
So at last, one line that defines you. How would you define yourself in one line?
That's again very difficult to define yourself. But one is that I'm one person who never liked to hurt anyone.
So thank you very much for your precious time and sharing your life journey on our show. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Gaurav. Long pending one. But
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Long pending.
Yeah, thank you for having me there.
My pleasure.